Hello and welcome to Bits That Begin with B. My name is Jim McCoy and I'm here with the silent B in the background, Deb Bowling. And on the phone we have Chip Ruble, my friend of half a century, to talk to us about bourbon. Please don't do the math on that to guess how old we might be. Barbie will tell us that math is hard, and the clear implication is that we mustn't try. By the way, it needs to be noted that this is the second consecutive episode where I allude to a friend named Chip, and they are not even the same person. I don't know what the odds of that are, but it's pretty whack.
With you, they're higher.
Okay. So our first tidbit is a book recommendation. It's called Margo's Got Money Troubles, and it's all the rage. We read this for our book club, and many book clubs are reading it. If you liked the Oscar-winning movie Honora, you will likely like this book. It's cool. It is really well written, really funny, and has just so many great lines in it. One of which I'm about to share with you because our next tidbit is about being your best. There's a wonderful quote from the book about some of the characters, and she says, "They were like chess pieces. They moved how they moved. If you wanted to win, you couldn't dwell on how you wished they'd move or how it'd be fairer if they moved a different way. You had to adapt." And that is great advice. So often people are angry with someone because they didn't react according to script. And they blame the person and view it as, some sort of moral failing because they didn't act exactly how they were expected to. But they move how they move, and it's a great way to frustrate ourselves if we expect people to act just like us. And by the way, if we glance in the mirror, we aren't all that either, and we're probably pissing other people off by not moving how they want us to move. So yeah, that's the bit for today is take people as they are and figure out how to work with them and how to make the best of your relationship with them, and you'll be fine.
Especially in the places you least expect to have to do it. The places that are most normal and common where you assume you know what to do and you have habits.
Mm-hmm. All right, and our final tidbit is about a bird. Last night, I was getting ready to get in bed. I had just undressed, and I heard this weird noise. And I thought, what's that? And then I heard it again, and I said, okay, what's that? And I went to the window, and it called again, and it was a barred owl. Only not one barred owl, it was two barred owls, and they were squawking like crazy and not making the usual barred owl noises. But I recognized the voice. There was no question that they were barred owls. So I dressed as fast as I could and put on my shoes as fast as I could, all of which takes you way longer than you think when you're in a hurry. But I got out there and they were still at it. And they were, there's a little side street one door down from us, and they were across that street and up a little hill in a stand of woods where it's too steep to develop. And they were squawking at each other. And then off in the middle distance, there was another barred owl squawking at them. And that one came closer. And then by the time that got closer, I could hear a fourth off to the north, just more quietly off at a distance. I think that one didn't want to get involved. I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but given the time of year, I suspect there was mating behavior happening there.
And did you say barred owl
Barred.
or barn?
Great question. There are two different species. One is barn, as in the barn on your farm, but these are barred, as in they have barring in their feathers. They sort of look barred. And these are spooky birds. They, unlike some owls, they don't have those little ear tufts that make them easy to anthropomorphize. They don't look human. And unlike a great horned owl has yellow eyes that look like they're judging you and looking right through you, barred owls have these perfectly black eyes that make them look soulless and really eerie and evil. But they're actually cool birds. They're one of our most common, certainly here in the East, but they're over much of the country, a fairly common bird. Obviously, you don't see them that often, but as far as owls go, you're more likely to see a barred owl during the day than most other owls. They will sometimes be out during the day. But anyway, it was just a cool experience. I got to see a couple of them by waiting around.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. And sorry if it was too much information about the undressing, but I understand on podcasts you're supposed to engage your audience emotionally, and if we horrify them, they'll be back.
Unexpected.
So, all right. Well, now let's get to our main bit, and that bit is about bourbon, and this is where my friend Chip comes in. Chip lives in Kentucky and has found that he's rather fond of bourbon. So, Chip,
Yep.
Hey,
Jim.
How are you, Chip?
I'm doing good. It's good to hear your voice.
And yours.
I invite you to always come down to the Bluegrass and imbibe of the bourbon. I'm here in Woodford County, in Versailles, spelled like Versailles, but we say Versailles down here. There's about 5 or 6 distilleries real close by here. So I have partaken of all of them, and I have a house favorite, which is right here in Woodford County, Woodford Reserve. So,
which by the way, I was never a bourbon drinker, but you turned me on to Woodford Reserve, and you'll be proud to know I just bought a bottle.
Excellent. Good choice. So that is my house brand, not just because it's like 6 or 7 miles away. It just has the flavor profile is really good, and like you said, I'm not an expert, but I know what I like, and I like Woodford, and I like a couple others that are real close by here too.
Now, if you can tell us what makes a bourbon a bourbon.
A bourbon is a distilled liquor, and you have to have 51% corn in the mash bill, and then they put other grains in depending on the taste profile that they want, and then you have to char it in a fresh white oak barrel, and then age it for at least 2 years. And then what makes it bourbon in Kentucky, we believe it's because it's in the bluegrass here. We have limestone karst geology, and it makes the water harder. And even though there's not an appellation, we don't really believe that you can make a bourbon outside of this area. They call it bourbon. But,
by the way, I did try something that was a Massachusetts bourbon, and it was undrinkable. I could get it down in like eggnog, but I ended up pouring out the last little bit just because I thought I'm never going to drink this.
You got spoiled out of the gate.
Well, there's a lot of good. Oh, go ahead.
No, Deb was saying I got spoiled out of the gate, and she's absolutely right. You gave me Woodford Reserve, and I went, ooh, I like bourbon. But it all depends.
I like Woodford the best. I sip it, but also, so I'm not a connoisseur. I'll go ahead and mix it with diet ginger ale. And in fact, I have parents that are 91 years old, living down in Florida, and every afternoon they have their bourbon and ginger ale, and it seems to work for them because they're still going strong.
Yeah. Well, brag about how well your dad golfs.
Dad is golfing well under his 91 years. And last week we all chided him for being on top of his roof blowing leaves off. So
wow.
Dad's doing okay.
All right. So the
living on the edge, though.
The wonders of bourbon. Who knew?
Literally.
So I have another question. Who decides what is called bourbon and what is not called bourbon?
The players in the bourbon market like to call bourbon what's made in Kentucky, but alas, people in Colorado and Massachusetts make a mash bill that fits what bourbon has to be and puts it in the barrel and ages it the same amount. So they can call them bourbons because there aren't appellations when it comes to whiskey and stuff like that in America. But whiskeys are not necessarily 51% corn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make a whiskey with anything. You can make a rye. Rye would have to be 51% rye. And then it really comes down to the grains that are involved and where you make it.
I see. But the best clearly is in Kentucky.
I think so. And I think it's probably within 5 miles of Woodford County.
Uh-huh. Very cool. So, go ahead.
Right across the river, just a few miles away, every time we go across the High Bridge is Wild Turkey, and they have a great tour there. And I love the 101. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a good bourbon. So the best price point in Woodford County is the Kroger. So you go to the grocery store, liquor store, and for my taste, you don't have to spend $50 for a single shot. You can go ahead and shop around and find the taste profile that you like. Mine's Woodford, which isn't a bad price bourbon. 101 is great for mixing, and a good bourbon that Hunter S. Thompson always had on his desk whenever you see a picture of the author and humanitarian Hunter S. Thompson, you'll always find a bottle of 101 close at hand.
Just in case you need it. Yeah, Chip took us when we came down and visited. He took us on the bourbon tour, and we did go to Wild Turkey, and yeah, the 101 is good.
And they've been pumping a lot of money into the industry, so the tours and the quality of the bourbon, the selections, they're doing a lot of different aging. So they'll take a bourbon, say an Angel's Envy, and then they'll, after making it a bourbon, which is 2 years in a oak cask, a charred oak cask, they'll bring it out and they'll put it into, say, a rum cask or a port cask and age it even further, and that will impart other flavors to it. So like the Angel's Envy port cask it's really, and the rum cask one are very, very good. So there's a lot of selection out there that when I was in college back in the day, you had your Jim Beam and your whiskey Jack Daniels, and there wasn't a lot of selection. And now it's amazing, the quality and the variety that's out there.
Very nice. Cool. Yeah. I'm still mostly an IPA guy, but when I drink hard liquor now, it's bourbon. It's
I think your friends have probably influenced you over poker games.
That is correct. So full disclosure, Chip and I get together with our other high school friends once a year to visit a new city and explore, but mostly the organizing principle is playing poker and drinking bourbon. And
we've only been at it for about 42 or 43 years.
I missed a lot of those years, but
that's all right. You were there in spirit. You were there for the first one. I believe that was
correct.
A wedding.
That's correct.
All went to.
Well, that almost all of us were invited to. I actually crashed that one at your urging, by the way.
You had to be there. That was, yeah.
Yep. The sequel to that is that 35 years later, I was invited to their son's wedding. So apparently the happy couple forgave me.
Of course they would.
Bourbon has always been a part of those gatherings.
Yeah. Well, so what else should we know? Oh, I know I had a question for you. What's going on with Buffalo Trace? We were talking about Woodford County.
Yeah, a week ago, early first weekend of April 2025, the Kentucky River just about went over the flood walls, but it was at 48.5 feet. And at 48.5 feet, the entire campus of the Buffalo Trace Distillery, which is in downtown Frankfort, you needed a kayak to get in there. Wow. And they're used to flooding in that area. So over the last century, I'm sure it's flooded 5 or 6 times, but it still is a disaster for the production facility. Gets inundated with water, and it takes a while to get everything cleaned out. And I'm sure they're working hard at it right now. Years ago, our area sees floods, and sometimes we see tornadoes. There was a storm that came through, I'm going to say 20 years ago, and it took the corner. A tornado took the corner off of one of the old brick rick houses where you store the bourbon. And a year or two later, when they were in need of going through those barrels, they figured that that product was probably ruined because it had been exposed to the environment so much with air and moisture getting at those barrels, even with the tarps and stuff they put over the roof. And what they found after they checked out the barrels was the barrels were breathing more and imparting more of the oak and the flavors and colors into the bourbon. So a lot of different distillers have taken that and started to run with it on how they set up their rick houses to allow the atmosphere to help the barrels breathe.
Wow.
In fact, I think Jefferson is a newer brand, maybe 10 or 15 years old. And Jefferson Ocean, they took that concept and started putting the barrels in shipping containers and shipping them around the world. So the bourbon would slog around inside the barrel and get the additional flavors of being on the ocean for a while. And then they bring the barrels back and bottle them. And it's the first Jefferson Ocean that came out, won all kinds of awards.
Wow.
And they're still making Jefferson Ocean. So that's one to try. And it's kind of hit and miss because the process of sending it around the world in barrels, it's different every time it happens.
And is Indian Ocean bourbon better than Pacific Ocean bourbon?
Yeah, probably the South Sea bourbon would probably be the best if the ship makes it back.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, that's funny. Very cool. Yeah, no, this has been great. So I want to follow up. Is Buffalo Trace gonna survive this? What are they saying?
Yeah. Again, the distillery has been inundated before. It's been there for 150 years. I'm sure that they take steps when they know the water's coming in. Don't know about the rick houses. You can't easily move barrels up, but I don't know if the barrels are above the flood stage or not. But they'll just like everything else along that part of the river. You just clean it up, and as soon as you can, get people back in there. Buffalo Trace is a great distillery for a tour, and people line up 100 deep on like Monday morning for the new releases because the Buffalo Trace stable of products is very extensive. If you go to their website and look, you'll be amazed all the different products that they make there.
Yeah, I was impressed. That was another stop when you took us around, and that was a lot of fun. And I was impressed by how good the bourbon was. I don't remember which one we had.
Then we must have had them all.
And I also was very pleased when one day I stumbled across some Buffalo Trace up here for sale in Massachusetts, which I wasn't sure it would be, but it is, and I got some then, but I no longer have that. I don't know what might have happened to it.
Buffalo Trace, and they have Blanton's, they have Pappy's. There's a large number of very good bourbons there. I think you would be able to spend a day there. Something for listeners to try when you don't, if you're just getting into bourbon, you don't want to pay a high price point. Try Benchmark. Benchmark is Buffalo Trace's well bourbons, and there's like 6 of them. And when you try them, it's the same mash schedule, which is that schedule of grains that they use at the outset. So 51% has to be corn, and then usually a rye and a malt barley. But the Benchmark mash bill for Buffalo Trace is the same as Buffalo Trace and the same as some of the higher end ones. They just age the product differently. Usually that's the main part of it. And they also do barrel selection on the higher end products. But you can start with Benchmark, paying a real nice low price point, and find your flavor profile. If you have time, you go to a very large box liquor store like we have here. We have a couple competing ones in Kentucky. And on a Saturday, it's pretty special. Inside, you can get taste from 10 or 15 distilleries, all inside the liquor barn or whatever place you're going, and very quickly find the ones you like and the ones you don't like, and not have to go and buy a bottle of each one.
That's really nice. Now, a thought occurred to me when you're talking about all these various processes. This must appeal to people as something to try making for themselves. Do people try to distill bourbon for themselves, or is it just too hard?
You could. I don't know what the law is behind distill. You can make your own beer at home,
Yeah.
but I don't know what the law is behind distilling.
Okay.
There's when you go to the distilleries and you see after the mash is made, and then they start straining it and they run it through different cooking kettles, and at that point the government starts to get very involved on how much liquor is being made.
Okay.
I don't know. You can make beer. I don't know if you can make your own. That would be interesting. We should try that when we get together next time.
But we should make sure we have a fast car before we do that.
We can do it. Let's go somewhere outside of the country first.
Let's
do it there.
Outrun the law. Yeah, perhaps not. I feel like Nancy would be stressed by that.
Yes,
probably.
Yes, the women folk would not appreciate us getting arrested.
Well, this has been very cool, Chip. This is fascinating. I knew you'd have lots to say about this subject, and it begins with a B, so it's got to be cool.
It does. It does. So I invite everybody, please come to the Bluegrass, taste bourbon in its native setting. Come and see the horses.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I meant to call that out. Kentucky's got great traditions.
Yeah, we're into our last week of Keeneland, which Keeneland is a racetrack that's near Lexington, Kentucky, which is near where I live. And it runs the whole month of April and the whole month of October. And it's one of the most beautiful tracks in the country. Jim and I spent some of our formative years in upstate New York, and Keeneland is kind of like Saratoga. It's just a gorgeous place to go. And you know what? They got horses and they got bourbon there too.
They do, and they've got bluegrass, and you got Kentucky Colonels, and you have all these traditions.
Oh yeah.
And then there's Connecticut, and some places just don't have traditions, but Kentucky's got lots of them.
Well, you're going to get some. You're going to get some
We've
comments.
got the corner.
Oh
on
yeah, I always get
traditions.
blowback on my failure to properly appreciate Connecticut, but I'm sticking to my guns. I lived there, so I can speak to it.
I spent a little time in Danbury.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Chip. This was great, and that wraps it up for today. Thanks to MMTV Studios here on Main Street in Melrose, and thanks to our friends next door at Hannah's Brewing Company. Thanks to the silent bee in the background, Deb Bowling. And thanks to our guest, Chip Ruble. And of course, thanks to you all for tuning in, and I hope you'll join us again soon. Bye-bye.